Hey everyone, welcome to episode 13 of Building My Trike. It disappeared. No, it didn't disappear. It's out of a bike. So, the place where I buy my foam, they were sold out and they're not going to get any for a while because the guy that orders it is incompetent, and so I've been told. So I've got to wait a little bit for more foam, but in the meantime I've taken it out of a bike and I can start trimming up around the front, and I've still got like bits and bobs that I can do, and it's at the point where I can pick it up and it's nice and stiff and it doesn't want to buckle and deform, so it's going to hold its shape in the shape that it's in. So when I put it back into the bike, I don't have to like make sure it's lined up before I do anything, and I don't have anything else to glue onto it or anything like that. So it's all square and needs to be where it needs to be. So for now, I've got it out and I can trim the holes for where the idlers are going to go up from underneath the bike for these, and I can also trim up the front here and then around the sides and even maybe down this side here, but probably not. I'll probably leave that because I'll leave this on till I get more foam and I can fill this in better. But I can trim it up at the front and lay some carbon around here and around here for now, and even a little bit up the top there. So plenty of work to do. I picked it up and it doesn't weigh much at all, only a few kilos. So I'll go get the scales and give you an exact measurement. As it is in this state now, it weighs 7.4 kilos, which is really good. It's unbelievably stiff. That foam makes such a big difference. It's quite high density foam, and I could use the canned foam, but that's nowhere near the same density. And that actually gives it quite a lot of rigidity throughout the structure, which is really good. Like, it's quite dense, and that foam holds the shape. It stops it from twisting or anything. So with the way that it is, you see how thin that is, and it's still strong. With the way it is, and I'll do a wrap from the underside over the top and then through where the seat is, it's going to be extremely stiff, I would imagine. I can also do a layup around here where I've just glued the cylinder sleeve in. So I'll do a layup from there across and around, and then bond that in, vacuum form it in. So when I come to do the body of it, all I have to do is wrap it down like that. I don't have to worry about coming out and around here. And that'll strengthen that. It's probably strong enough as it is. That glue is really good, but yeah, just a bit more carbon just to be sure. Chain idler openings cut. Looks very neat. I'm going to trim the excess off here now. So I've just done a wrap here. It's starting to go off. Yeah, it's pretty good actually. And I've done a wrap down here. And I've just taken the vacuum bag off this part, and that's still a little bit tacky. I had absorption mat over this, and I thought that would absorb most of the resin, and then I put the vacuum bag suction point here, so I thought any resin would be drawn towards that and not go down into the bearings, because I had the whole thing assembled. But unfortunately, capillary action took over and it sucked into the bearings. So these are actually not too bad. I can feel the rollers rolling, and there was like, you can feel it a little bit crunchy. There was a little bit of resin in the top and the bottom, but these thrust bearings got most of the action. You can see it's glossy. So I've got to pick that off before it goes hard. So wish me luck. Luckily, the bearing had oil on it, and so did the two washers down here. The only one that didn't was the extra washer that I've used as a packer, but the resin came off really good. But the oil gives it a barrier between the resin and the stainless steel, so it picks off a lot easier than it would if there was no oil, which I'm very grateful for. And also, to add on top of that, luckily I bought some spares when I bought these. The only problem is these are so well wedged in there, it's going to be a mish to get them out. So let's hope that these are okay. Considering it doesn't rotate too much, I'm not that concerned. Well, I couldn't get it out, and I thought it looked clear on the inside, but that's what it looks like on the other side. So I'm gonna have to buy a bearing puller to rip this bastard out, which sucks because it's in there like you wouldn't believe. And I'm gonna have to do the same to the bottom, and then when I come to doing this side, I'm gonna have to do it a lot better, figure out a way that I can form it without getting resin in there. So I might have to put tacky tape around and seal that. Great news. I did this side and I didn't get resin in the bearing. I took this out and then I put some tape around here. So the other side's bonded way up to the top there. So this isn't, which doesn't matter because it's holding in around here, which is where I want it. So I took this out and then just the roller bearings on the inside, put some tape around and then put heaps of tacky tape on the top to seal it. And yeah, it worked perfect and I'm stoked. And I've got a bearing puller. I bought a bearing puller so I can rip these out and put new ones in. So I've drilled a hole to get access to the idler. And you can see down the middle, I've just got that one gluing right now. And I've got this one just mocked up and I'm gonna have to cut that just here. So that way I can get access and still retain the shape of the bike. Today in the mail, I received some more foam. So I've just done another pour, which is great news. And while I sit here pedaling, waiting for the foam to go off, I'll explain to you what I did today. I machined this piece up here, which is to go in a wheel. So it goes in like that, screws on there, and sits butted up against that. So we've got the brake caliper, which slots into that, and then that slots a press fit onto the brake caliper. Not so much press fit, it's sort of one of them. I had to machine the brake caliper out, so it had a step in it, but I was like, I didn't like it because there wasn't enough wall thickness between here and there. There was only 2 mil, so I stepped it from 16 mil up to 20 mil. So that slots in through there, gives perfect spacing, and then that screws in. So you can see how much of the shoulder bolt sticks out, if it'll stay in place. So there's about 36 millimeters of shoulder bolts sitting inside this, and then from 36 millimeters on it is threaded for another 15-20 mil just to accommodate the thread here. So there is zero play. That's a 12 mil hole, that's a 12 mil diameter, no play whatsoever. So I'm confident that that's going to hold the wheel nice and strong. It is a little bit heavy, but I'm not too concerned about that. This bit here, I've got to open it up a bit, but that will slot onto and butt up against that next lip, and then I'll weld it there. And that stops the brake caliper from torquing when you put the brakes on. So on this part here, I've notched out a little notch so the shoulder bolt fits in a little bit better, and we've got the jig set up, everything lined up as best as we can get it. Some marks on here and center point on that. I had to grind the shoulder bolt down a little bit, but when we had it in the bike, it lines up pretty much perfect to where we want it. So we're going to lay that there, hold it there, and put some welding tacks on. Just finished doing both the welds. I ended up having to move this about 5mm because our measurements were out, and the top shoulder bolt, top thrust bearing wouldn't, was fouling on here, and the bottom nut was rubbing on the wheel fairing, like I was saying in one of my previous videos. So what I have to do now is open this up to 25mm because I made a mistake there, and then I can weld that onto there like that, and then put the brake caliper on afterwards. As you just saw, the chassis is now a rolling chassis. So I was thinking I'll explain how this part works and what I've done to it. So I welded the shoulder bolt to the part, and that's where I had to move it about 5mm, just here. And then I welded the bracket on for the brake caliper. These slot on nice and easy. It's not too tight, just a snug fit with like barely any play. And then there's zero gap here, so the brake caliper is held nice and tight with that, and then it can flop back and forth just a tiny bit to take up any slack. And then you can see that protrudes out there, which is the step up here. And then when you put the brake caliper on, the brake caliper sits about 0.5mm or 1mm above, bottoming out on the little lip we've got around here. So that's how it works. And then you can see there's nearly zero clearance in the bottom of that, but the bolt, the nut comes up to about here, so there is just enough clearance. It's about perfect, to be honest. So this part is completely custom made, everything. Same concept and idea as to what everyone runs, but I've basically designed my own steps and spacing and everything like that. So yeah, basically the same as what everyone does, except to my measurements. So under here, I've taken the siding off up to here, and I'm going to lay some glass over the top of that today. 2 sheets of glass just to flatten it off. And I've drilled some speed holes in the side of the bike so I can access the wheel nut, the wheel shoulder bolt from the side, because you can't get the bolt out all the way to get the wheel out, so you have to take it through here so you can pop the wheel out to get it out of the bike. Otherwise it's stuck in there. The foam for the seat has been poured. Now I have to take it out, the bike out of the fairing, and start trimming it up. So trim all these edges off here where I don't want foam, start shaping the radiuses so the foam, the carbon can wrap around nice, and then start sorting out under here and how I'm going to lay the carbon on the inside and vacuum form that. So that's it for this week's episode. Stay tuned, because at this pace I'm going to have a bike done very soon. I'm very excited to finish it and give it a first test ride.